Snowden is in theaters. In this movie, he's a hero that's doing something that heroes aren't supposed to do, breaking the law. And a lot of us are going to root for him the whole time. What's up with that? Well, let's focus on that and why sometimes our heroes can be criminals. Now, the obvious answer as to when we'll root for characters to break the law is when the law is bad. But of course, it's not that easy. When is the law bad? When it leads to people getting killed? Sometimes that's okay. And the law has a detailed set of rules for that. But what makes those rules sometimes violate our own feelings? Well, the first thing to note is that the law is not the be-all, end-all of a situation. The law is actually trying to work within a much larger context, with a set of standards that go beyond the law's reach, and will make it fail to discourage behavior if it's not set up the right way. For example, we don't want people to steal. Let's say that someone can take a candy bar from the store, which is worth $1, and only get caught 1 out of 10 times. This actually means that they'll gain $9 worth of candy for every time they're caught. Now, let's say the penalty when they're caught is to have to return the candy and get a slap on the wrist.
Ow! Quit it.
This law, which actually penalizes stealing, would not stop it. In fact, it would cause stealing to explode, because generally, anyone can now trade a slap on the wrist for $9. After all, that's how much you gain every time you're caught. And the shopkeepers are supposed to follow the law. So you've forcefully limited the penalty to something that makes stealing profitable. On the other hand, if you put too much of a penalty, like sending any candy bar thief to the electric chair, you're going to end up losing a lot of people who actually probably weren't that bad, and whatever good things they might have done in the future. So, actually, the law doesn't just turn behaviors on and off. It simply is adding costs to certain behaviors, and everyone is weighing their own interests against the costs. And thus, if you set up those costs wrongly, you end up having a law that does not help society, in which case, people need to change the law, or if that's not possible, act against it. Likewise, the law tries to handle complicated situations with simple rules, and really, all of our simple rules don't work all the time, including ones as fundamental as always being honest. Here's an example. If you asked me how tall I am, I'd say 6'1", but I'm not actually 6'1". In my socks, I'm more like 6'1¼ inches. But if I told you my real height, you'd actually picture me as being shorter than I am, because I'm the same height as everyone else who claims to be 6'1". Pretty much everyone lies to that same degree. But this isn't just some little detail about people being bad or dishonest. There's a reason for it, because people commonly judge each other by things like height. And if everyone was honest about it, then someone who did that little bit of lying would benefit, and would be hard to catch since they're close enough to that height for it not to be obvious. And they would not suffer very much if they were caught, because it's a reasonably small amount. So the dishonest person would end up better off than everyone else. So we adjusted to this as a society by having everyone make that lie. Now people just picture 6'1" in height as being the height of everyone who is tall enough to exaggerate themselves to that height. So no specific dishonest person can benefit. And when it comes to how tall people are, we all can picture it accurately based on what they say, which is the point of honesty in the first place. So this demonstrates that our simple rule of just being honest may often work, but doesn't always work best for society. And our intellect, which works in real time and which tries to make the laws, can't handle all these details. So instead, our instinct handles it. And our instinct works by focusing on the results of these things instead of the method, the destination instead of the path. And in that example, it adjusted to allow us to keep an accurate picture of the world in a way where complete honesty among people wasn't possible and wouldn't work. So the law is the formal way that we try to apply these kinds of simple rules to these situations. And likewise, the law often fails.
I can understand you being upset not being able to compete. They can understand that. But don't break the law.
such as the case with Edward Snowden. If all the paperwork and details of government in their confusingness result in some people spying on or hurting innocent people, then those of us who think that's happening will have our instinct kick in and ignore what the law says and make us want to act to stop it, and likewise make us like or want to help anyone else who is acting to fix it.
You can kiss my...
Austin is going directly to jail!
And this is our hero. And these spots where the methods of the law don't achieve the results our instinct wants
This is the police. You are under arrest.
are the ones where we will want our hero to break the law. And we will like that hero and want them to succeed. Just like some of us who may view the government that way will cheer Edward Snowden. If the law gave the wrong punishment for certain crimes, or didn't catch the criminals enough, which made those crimes run rampant, we'd want a hero to come in and catch those criminals more, or give out more punishment in order to set things right. In some cases, this may lead the hero to be in conflict with the police, or the government, or our other institutions that otherwise are meant to help us.
The CIA could barge through this door any minute and you want more time.
And if the people can see that the government is producing a bad result on a large enough scale, they may join in themselves, creating a revolution, or at the very least, root for Ed Snowden at the movies. Thanks.